IA friends, thanks for joining us today. We've got 2 8/9 special guests with us today. Megan Smith, who is on the OIA team, she is filling in for Becca, who is out with her family hiking in the mountains. And we've also got the best BMXer in the insurance world, yes, Chris Cline, from our good friend and partner Westfield is with us today. And we're going to talk talent and technology today.
Excellent.
So Chris, numbers do not lie. So 29,000 jobs are opening in our industry in the next 2 years. 400,000 nationwide over the next 5 years. So a huge concern among our members is closing that talent gap. How are you seeing agents, your fastest growing, your best agents, how are they recruiting? What positions are they recruiting for? Can you give us some insight on that?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. It's something we get asked a ton, really, when we're out talking to agencies. And I would come at it from a couple of ways, and we will overuse the word culture, but it's really huge. And so you start to think about the generation of talent that you're trying to attract, or most are trying to attract, and it's filling the job space. And what environment do they really want to work in? It probably doesn't look the same as the environment that attracted me when I started my career, or that would have attracted the folks, nearing the end of their career. And so that's not disparaging comment at all. I think it's just very practical application. So be thinking about a very vibrant, modern, tech-enabled situation. And it really starts to frame not only just the ability to attract younger talent or new talent to your organization, but also just it permeates the culture and starts to feed the way you might use data, analytics, and technology, even to enhance the customer experience.
So these agencies that are recruiting these new different types of roles, how are they retaining these people? Does it go back to culture? How are they keeping the good talent once they get it?
Yeah, it's got to be culture. I mean, it keeps coming back to culture. I mean, we're investing in it as a carrier, and many of our peer companies around are all doing the same thing in the way the workforce looks, the workplace looks, the work-life balance, the tools that we're giving folks to use to do their job, and we're seeing more and more agencies do that. So agencies, even in smaller communities, are starting to look like cool places to work. And so not only does it attract them in, but like, why would I need to move from the suburb or from a rural community to the city if I can work on an iPad and I can have a really cool spot and I'm allowed to go work at the local coffee shop? Even smaller towns have those now. So that work-life balance is key. The culture is key. Creative compensation, you start to see that looking a little bit different than the traditional just split a commission and those types of things. So there's really no secret sauce there. We kind of jokingly say, like, no job description is attractive when it talks about processing auto changes. But when you think about keeping your community and your society healthy and insulated, or at least there to provide safety in the event of something bad, I mean, sell that. And it helps attract and retain talent.
So on that point, let's say you're a 4-person operation and you're the leading agency in your local community.
Absolutely.
Okay, how do you go about investing in those non-revenue generating roles, those non-traditional roles within a small insurance agency? If you cannot make that investment for the personnel, what do you do?
Think activities. Think about the tools you already have first, and then start somewhere.
Right.
And next thing you know, that 4-person agency is now 6.
What are those other tools that they need that are just absolutely critical to the success of a growing agency?
Cheesily saying flat screen monitors hanging all around with all the activities and the sales management stuff. No, I say that to not make light of it, but I also want to say, like, you might not need other tools depending where you're at on your own individual agency's journey. So even really healthy and robust agencies will look you in the eye and say, we spend a lot of money on our agency management system and the tools that it provides, but we're not maximizing it.
Yeah.
And I mean, again, as a guy who's never even had to feed his family once running an independent agency, it's easy to say this, but like, why aren't you maximizing an investment you've already made? So it's one thing to go out and want to start buying all these disparate technologies and bolting them on, but what you find is that oftentimes you're buying something that you might already have 80% or 70% of the solution built in. So if you're using your management system for accounting and transactional flow, you should really understand, or I would recommend understanding, what sales management and pipeline management capabilities have you already bought. So if you're thinking about campaigns you run, are you coding those? Are you tracking those back to the activities? Asking how every single interaction with a customer occurred. I mean, that's pretty basic. You're already on the phone. You're already interacting with email.
Right.
And if you're coding that into your management system, now you've got analytics about your pipeline, and it can inform other investments. And it also then creates accountability for all of the staff and some tools for you as an agency principal then to ultimately set goals and production and those types of things. So when I said the TVs, one of the things, to back to your point about how do you attract and retain talent, the next generation folks are also very transparent with themselves. I mean, they share everything on social media, right? So it's also a great way to create some good competitive spirit and culture in an agency. And a lot of folks didn't want to do that in years past, but the agencies that are really growing and succeeding well are incredibly transparent with their own data. So when I joke about having flat screens around, it's names, it's people doing what they're doing, it's how many times they were on the phone, how many how many accounts they've written. I mean,
Right.
I see them all over the place where it's how much revenue am I generating month to date and what was my goal on a percentage. And it's a little bit over the top by depending on where you're at generationally,
Yeah.
Jeff, but it's happening in
Right.
the most successful agencies.
It sounds like a true modern business experience.
Small business, yep.
Yes, and that's exciting to hear about. So, Chris, that's a ton of awesome information. Megan, where else can people hear from Chris?
So fortunately, you all have a couple of opportunities to hear from Chris. So there's the new Closing the Gap podcast where he and his team talk about best practices, different, topics within the industry. So definitely check him out on Closing the Gap podcast.
Thank you. Yep, welcome.
And we are actually fortunate enough to have him at our IA Con coming up October 11th and 12th in Dublin at the AC Marriott. Make sure you're there.
Unless I don't crash racing BMX, right?
Let's hope that doesn't happen.
No kidding.
But
Big skinned elbow.
that would be terrible. But Chris will be there along with some other industry leaders.
Will you be there?
I will not be there.
Oh, bummer.
Unfortunately,
Why not?
I will be
Something
out
going
on
on?
maternity leave. Yeah,
Ah,
I am expecting bad timing, so I will not
always
be there.
good timing for a new
That's
baby.
right, exactly.
That's true. So I will miss all of you, but our OIA team will be there. We'll have some amazing company partners there, and we're really looking forward to a great event.
Yes, absolutely. So be there. We look forward to seeing you and Chris and others at IACon 2018, October 11th and 12th.
Peace.
Love.
OIA.